Lesson 37. I can multiply a whole number and a mixed number. For problem 1, it asks you to draw a tape diagram to show two ways to represent 2 units of 4 2/3. So you can see here that one way is to just draw 2 equal units that each represent 4 2/3. Another way is to break it down by the whole numbers and the fractions. So you can draw 2 units to represent 4 and 2 units to represent 2/3. The second part of this question asks you to write a multiplication expression to match each diagram. So let's look at our first diagram up here. Since we just have 2 units of 4 2/3, we can just write 2 times 4 2/3. Now for the next unit, we're going to break it down by our whole numbers and by our fractions. So we're going to do in parentheses first 2 times 4, and then we're going to add to that our fractions. So 2 times 2/3. What we did for our second tape diagram in pink is we used the distributive property. We distributed the 2 out to our whole number and our fraction. That is what we will be doing today when we multiply. In the example problem, we're working with the problem 3 times 6 4/5. As I just mentioned, we're going to be using the distributive property, so we need to distribute the 3 to our whole number of 6 and our fraction of 4/5. So you can see I pull it out to being 3 times 6 plus 3 times 4/5. So when I multiply 3 times 6, I get 18, and when I multiply 3 times 4/5, I get 12/5. So I'm going to convert 12/5 into a mixed number. So I take 12 divided by 5 to get 2 2/5. Now I can add 18 plus 2 2/5 to get 20 2/5. 2 times 4 2/3. My very first step is to distribute my 2 to my whole number and my fraction. So I need to take 2 times 4 plus 2 times 2/3. So now I'm going to actually multiply. So I take 2 times 4 equals 8 plus 2 times 2/3. So I take my whole number times my numerator, 2 times 2 equals 4, over my original denominator of 3. Now I'm going to convert my 4/3 into a mixed number. So my next line is going to be 8 plus 1 1/3. And I can add those together to get 9 1/3. Please try to just distribute the 3 on your own now. Push pause and then push play to check your work. When you distributed, you should have gotten 3 times 2 plus 3 times 5/8. Now we actually multiply. 3 times 2 equals 6. 3 times 5 is 15 over our original denominator of 8. Now I'm going to convert my improper fraction into a mixed number. So I know that 8 can go into 15 once. I'll have 7 left over. When I take 6 plus 1 7/8, I get 7 7/8. Once again, try to distribute 2 times 4 7/10 on your own, and then push play to check your work. You should have gotten 2 times 4 plus 2 times 7/10. And now we multiply. 2 times 4 equals 8. 2 times 7 is 14 over our original denominator of 10. Now we're going to convert 14/10 to a mixed number. So we have 1 4/10. When we add 8 plus 1 4/10, we get 9 4/10, which we know we can simplify to 9 2/5. Please try E through H on your own now. Pause the video and then push play to check your work. For E, you should have gotten 23 1/4, F, 21, G, 36 4/5, and H, 23. For one dance costume, Sasha needs 4 2/3 feet of ribbon. How much ribbon does she need for 5 identical costumes? So, the first thing that we need to do is highlight the information that we know. So we know that she needs 4 2/3 feet of ribbon for one costume, and she wants to make 5 costumes. So we need to multiply those numbers together. So we are going to take 4 2/3 times 5. So we're going to use the distributive property to first do 5 times 4, and then add 5 times 2/3. So we know that 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 2/3 is 10/3. So we can rewrite that as 20 plus 3 1/3, which equals 23 1/3. So we know that Sasha will need 23 1/3 feet of ribbon to make 5 costumes.